Crazy moves on the newest holds and in some of the prettiest climbing gyms you have ever seen. If you're climbing in 2024, your Instagram feed is probably filled with videos just like this. As it turns out, most of these videos are from Korea, which is why earlier this year I took a trip to Seoul, where there are over 140 climbing gyms. To find out what's unique about the Korean climbing culture,
no crims at all so far. The dynos are big.
And why Korean bouldering has taken over all our Instagrams. In this video, I showcase two of the most popular climbing gyms in Seoul, the Climb Ilsun and Climbing Park Songsu. Right away, the size of these gyms are just ridiculous. For climbing gyms that are quite near the city center, both being less than an hour away by public transport, the size of these climbing gyms just don't make any sense. As I go through the easier climbs for warm-up, let's see if I can already spot any reasons why climbing is so popular here right away.
All the climbs I've tried so far, like complete jug hold, the feet are really nice, like super friendly to beginners. It's quite nice in that sense. They definitely spare like no expenses on holds or whatsoever. Like, I think it's like three or four, maybe two. Like, very nice.
It definitely looks very attractive to climb no matter if you're a beginner or elite level climber. Other than having the newest, most expensive hold on basically every climb, I was starting to notice another trend as I was going through the climbs in the mid-grades. If you haven't noticed by now, the style of the climbs here are very new school. Wherever you look, there's a climb with either a dyno or coordination component. I think they are mostly quite well set in the sense that when you execute the movement well, they can feel very easy, even on a slightly harder grade.
Oh, that's fun. All the holds are so big. Like the moves are still okay, but they're risky. So it's quite interesting.
I personally really enjoyed this style of climbing, but even for me, it was getting a little too much. But when I took a look at the Korean climbers around me, I think I understood why climbs are mainly set this way a little bit more. Let's talk about the tripods. If you climb here and you're from Europe or the States, one thing that might seem odd is that most people will film their climbing and post them for Instagram. Much more than climbers from other countries, and most of them aren't influencers per se, but just people who really enjoy sharing their climbing experience with others. If you have had any experience with posting climbing videos on Instagram or just spend a lot of time scrolling on Instagram in general, you'd notice that dynamic climbs usually get the most attention and views. With posting about your climbing achievements being such a big part of Korean climbing culture, I think it definitely has an effect on what type of climbs people tend to get on. The flashy, exciting, and dynamic climbs. As for the climbing gyms, more content created by the climbers means more exposure to the climbing gym, and of course they benefit greatly from that. So it's understandable for them to set even more climbs in this style. Before I tell you more about the Korean climbing culture, let's talk about today's sponsor, Fictitious. My schedule is super packed at the moment, which means having a hangbar at home is a great way to do some supplemental finger training. My setup was pretty great, but most of you don't get to drill a hole in your homes, which is why I'm excited to show you the doorway mount and hangboard from Fictitious. It took me only a few minutes to put all the parts together, and if I can do it, you guys will definitely be fine. And about putting this onto the doorway, it literally took me no time at all. Having a hangboard at home has allowed me to separate my finger training to my climbing. So when I'm actually at the climbing gym, I can focus and concentrate all my energy on the climbing and leave the training at home. As for the hangboard itself, it's one of the comfiest hangboards I've ever used. All the edges are rounded nicely and there are plenty of options in terms of edge size. You can now get 20% off any Fictitious hangboard with the doorway mount simply by clicking the link in the description below. Now let's get back to the video. Now, is this tripod culture a good or bad thing? I'm not so sure. Filming your own climbing is definitely a great way to analyze your movement and how you can improve. However, as someone who films a lot of his own climbing, and I'll be the first one to admit, I often neglect other important learning opportunities within climbing simply because I want to do the cool looking dynamic climb for Instagram. There's nothing inherently wrong with doing a lot of dynamic climbs. However, I do think climbing gyms have a responsibility to expose their customers to all styles of climbing, so they can experience more things, especially if they like to do more than indoor bouldering. That being said, as I started to try the harder climbs in the gym, I did feel like there was a significant increase in technical movements and other traditional climbing moves. Furthermore, I think there's plenty that anyone can learn from trying these outrageous, committing dynamic climbs. Not only do you need to be very well coordinated, you also need balls of steel to stick some of these moves. In my opinion, to do committing moves like this on these massive new style holds, which sort of resembles the intimidating 3D feature outdoors, I think is quite beneficial, no matter if you're an indoor or outdoor climber. Alright, sure. So the climbing gym set a lot of dynamic, attractive looking climbs. And Korean climbers post a bit more of their climbing than other climbers on Instagram. But there has got to be other reasons that has led to this crazy rise in climbing's popularity in Korea, right? For reference, Tokyo, one of the most popular cities for bouldering in the world, with a population of near 14 million, only has around 50 climbing gyms. Whereas Seoul, with a population of only 9.7 million, has 140 climbing gyms. 140! Well, I think a big reason is that climbing is featured in the mainstream media quite often here. Here you can see Korean climbing royalty John Kim on Iron Bin's YouTube channel, the breakout star from Netflix Physical 100. I think all these normalize indoor bouldering as a sport, especially with the way climbing gyms are here. They're also new and modern, unlike the climbing gyms of the past, which certainly felt a lot more hardcore and grimy. So the real question is, are Korean climbing gyms worth visiting? In my opinion, most definitely. Indoor climbing here is such a spectacle. The setters are allowed to be as creative as they like and always come up with the newest, flashiest moves. I hope you have had a good insight into what Korean climbing, especially indoor climbing here, looks like. I definitely recommend you take a trip to experience it yourself. The coffee culture, the food, everything is just like pretty amazing, and it is definitely the new direction for this modern style of climbing. Just a reminder, you can get 20% off any fictitious hangboard with a doorway mount by clicking the link in the description. Hope you enjoyed the video. See you on the next one.